Uncovering God's agenda in the lives of His young people, I'm Nancy Mills, and this is Nancy Meets. And welcome to a brand new episode of Nancy Meets. Today, we're talking about entrepreneurial trailblazers, the individuals who are slaying it with their unique businesses and enterprises that are making a difference in the way we think, consume, and enjoy life. But these are people who know of struggle and whose reliance on God and His faithfulness have been central to their flourishing and thriving. For me, my guests are inspirational, and I hope you'll find their accounts and stories compelling, amazing, and as insightful as I did. And remember that you can share your thoughts on today's episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter using the hashtag NancyMeets. We're beginning today's episode with our first guest, Lorraine Wright, the personification of a phenomenal woman. She's the founder and director of the University Gospel Choir of the Year competition, which continues to celebrate the richness of gospel music and the power of corporate singing. And following 8 successful and fantastic years, Lorraine's UGCY has much to show for it. Numerous concerts, hundreds of audience members, and now competitions being held across the world. But all this started with an idea, a calling, a vision laid on her heart. So how did she put this into action? When I met her in London a few weeks ago, I began by asking her that very question, and this is what she had to say. Hi Lorraine.
Hi.
Welcome. It's really nice to finally sit down and talk to you. We're really excited to meet you in particular. Just reason being, obviously being a young woman and being where you are now is just inspiring, and I can't wait for so many people to hear about your story. So just to get the ball rolling, tell us about where the idea for University Gospel Choir of the Year came from.
So taking me back to 2009 or 2009, 10 time.
Yeah.
I remember I was part of my University Gospel Choir, so I went to Brunel University for my undergraduate.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, I don't think I've got the best of voices, but I joined my University Gospel Choir, and it was great. I mean, it was a combination of singers, students and staff.
Okay.
And we kind of came together, and I think we met every Monday, I think it was.
Wow.
And we always used to come together, and I enjoyed it, I loved it.
Yeah.
And I thought, but we do this, and we do this within the 4 walls of our university. We're not doing it outside anywhere. And I thought, okay, I wonder if other universities have gospel choirs. So what I did, I just kind of did some Googling, as you do, spoke to a couple of friends at other universities, and they didn't really hear of it. I mean, you typically have your ACS societies, you typically have a Christian Union, you typically have, I don't know, a rugby society or football society or whatever it is, but there wasn't a gospel choir type society on campuses. Yeah. But I found that there were a couple of universities I knew of that did. So Royal Holloway at the time had one, King's College University had one, Imperial College had one, but it wasn't something that was well known outside of the universities. Yeah. So I remember going to a couple of university concerts. So I went to King's College one time, and I realised that with their university choir alone, they managed to pull in like 400 people. Wow. And I was like, wow. Yeah. For student choir, I didn't even, like, there's gospel artists that can't even pull that
number of many people in. Yeah, it's true.
So it was, that whole atmosphere was amazing. I was like, hold on a minute, why don't we try and get these gospel choirs all together? Actually, tell a lie, that kind of logic or that step didn't come until one Christmas when I was watching my favourite film, which was Sister Act. And obviously in the final scenes of Sister Act 2, where you've got Lauryn Hill and you've got all the college choirs coming together, you've got Joyful, you've got all of those, and you've got Whoopi Goldberg, and you've got this atmosphere of college choirs coming together and competing with each other. And I was like, hold on a minute, we don't have anything like this in the UK, but I've noticed that Royal Holloway has a choir, Imperial has a choir, why can't we do something similar? So I believe it was laid on my heart that we could replicate something at scale within the UK. And I started kind of pulling things together, speaking to people in the gospel industry, just reaching out to people randomly. people often ask me how to get started. I literally randomly started emailing people, like find out who's who in gospel community. And just started messaging you might meeting with me, because I've got this idea, I don't know how to take it forward. And I did that, and praise be to God, people responded and were like, no, let's come and sit down, let's talk about this, you know. And at the time it was Andrea, who is still around today with us, Mark DeLissa, who again is still with us, Io, who's still with us, Stephanie, who's still with us. People I spoke to, Muyua, these are guys that are still behind us, still supporting us. All these years later. And they were people that literally just responded to an email and said, I'm happy to meet with you. So that's kind of the journey.
Are you somehow surprised by how far and how much it's grown over the course of the last few years?
I mean, I didn't think, we're actually entering our 8th year. I didn't think we will be even thinking about our 10-year anniversary.
Really?
I had no idea. I don't know how that came to be. And every year just comes around so quickly. So I'm still surprised and not taking UGCY for granted whatsoever. When it comes and God gives us the resources, the people to do it. The best thing that's ever happened to this team and to UGCY is my co-D. I call her the co-founder, which is Ife, because if it wasn't for her as well, also believing in the dream and the vision, none of this would have happened.
What's the process like towards each show? Like, you know, the run up, and I'm assuming it's crazy.
We're getting started now.
Universities and choirs,
So typically we have a long summer break. So after the event, we typically from April till this time, August, we're just trying to get our lives back in order. You know, so you don't really hear of us around this time. But then when it gets to the university academic year stuff, already you're starting to see people asking us how can we enter, and just like, well, okay, give us a moment to breathe and finish our summer holiday. I mean, politicians go on breaks.
So I can't be on break.
So what happens is around September, October time, we open the competition, or open the doors for universities from across the UK to enter the competition. So you could be in York, you can be in Leicester, you can be in Manchester, Coventry, Dublin, you can be in Derby, you can be in Portsmouth, right down to Southampton. Name all the choirs that genuinely enter this competition. And there's so many, I could probably reel them off. And they start sending in audition videos. They can sing anything they want, a duration of 5 minutes. And this is really encouraging them to, around this time you start to see, yesterday I saw a post from Derby University who was encouraging members on their campus to enter their choir. And they had only recently started. They heard of UGCY, they're like, why don't we do something like this? So they started building their own choir. And now when you see them promoting themselves, they're like, we want to build a community on campus, we want to encourage each other, support each other, but we also want to enter UGCY. And I'm like, wow, you know?
Almost killing two birds with one stone.
There you go. And our vision was really to help bring people together on campuses to understand and know the gospel, to start to question what does it mean to sing and worship and understand what does the gospel mean and who is behind it, you know, who is it that we're singing about. And that was really the vision. The vision was to see university choirs started up in every single university. And from knowing that there was only probably 5 or 6 to knowing that there's plus 40, plus 50, plus 60 university choirs nowadays, I'm like, wow, you know, so.
How would you say that your faith has played a role then? Obviously, we don't want to look at the most obvious, the fact that it's gospel music and it obviously comes from you, community of Christians. But you personally, what was it like having the message in your heart that God has given me that I need to run with this, it's my idea, it's me that's been chosen to do it? What was that moment like for you? So
when that vision was laid on my heart, I remember crying. I remember like, how? Why me? Like, how on earth can I do something like this? You know, just little old me, I am no one, you know. And I remember living in my mum's house at the time, and I remember sitting on the sofa and just in tears. I was like, how am I going to do this? And I called up one of my friends who, again, to this day, he's still supporting us, Dio. And I was like, Dio, God has laid this vision in my heart, like, what do I do about it? How do I do it? And I remember quite vividly, I didn't actually even know this verse in the Bible, but he was like, Lorraine, write down the vision and make it plain.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. So at that point, I literally wrote down the vision. I like, okay, I want to see University Gospel Choir started up in every single university.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have University Gospel Choir. I want to be able to do this. I want to do this. Like literally writing it down.
Yeah.
And then taking each one and then trying to understand the steps to take to execute each of those.
Okay.
And they always say faith without works is dead. So how can I write those things, believe it's going to happen, and not do anything about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So literally take those, write down those things. And I'm a big believer in writing things down now because I did not anticipate what would come from just writing down something, you know, and telling people about it. And once you're able to, in practicality, I mean, putting faith aside just for the second, be able to write down something and clearly understand it and then not be able to articulate it to other people is the works that you're putting in to actually build upon the faith that you've kind of now believing in.
Yeah.
So that's one element. That was how faith probably, I was able to believe that God is not going to give you a vision and not be able to
equip you to do it. Yeah.
There you go.
It's true.
So that was one step. Now the next thing was money.
Yeah.
Resources.
Where's that come from? Yeah.
I was a student.
Yeah.
I had like 20 grand worth of debt at the time.
Oh my God.
Pray be to God it's paid off now. But I was like, how on earth am I going to do this? You know, I wanted, the vision was so big that I was like, right, I don't even want to do it on a university campus. I mean, the easiest thing for us was to go and hire a lecture centre at Brunel or King's or wherever that had like a humongous lecture centre. But I was like, no, I want to do this in the West End.
Yeah.
I want it to be like
Big, do it properly.
big, you know. I want to be able to get a West End theatre to be able to do this in. So I started literally Googling and finding out how much does it cost to hire a West End theatre. And these were going for like 20 grand, etc. It's like, okay, so how am I going to do this? You know, so I started, again, took the vision that I'd written down and started to try and package it up in terms of a kind of sponsorship package type thing.
Yeah.
It took a couple of years to execute, so these things don't come overnight. But what I did was once it was packaged up, I started to go into potential sponsors. At the time, I was working for, so obviously I graduated a couple of years before, and it took 2-3 years to start. Yeah. And at the time, my first early jobs were Accenture, and I was then the client that I was working with as a consultant was UBS Bank, and I'm still working with them today.
Yeah.
And I literally took this package and I thought, which kind of company is going to want to sponsor an event like this? And I started to think about it logically. It's like, okay, I could go to the church.
Yeah.
I could go to a Christian type organisation, which I did.
Yeah.
But nothing was forthcoming from that. So I had to think smartly and wise as well. And think, okay, well, this vision is about encouraging people that are not necessarily saved to understand the message, you know. So it might make sense not to necessarily say this is a church-led event, but rather to try and say this is an event that we're encouraging anyone from any faith to get involved in, you know. And by doing that, we wanted to package it up as a mainstream type event.
Okay.
And that, for me, was the most important decision we've ever made, because once we're able to do that, we're able to welcome anyone, no matter what your faith, your background, the colour of your skin. We are trying to put everyone on a level playing field. We're here to love anyone, no matter who you are, and celebrate the talents that we believe God has given you.
Yeah.
So I thought wise about it and started approaching corporates. And I was like, and the package to them was, why don't you sponsor a national program that you'll be able to attract potential employees to your company? So I went to the graduate recruitment areas and then said to Accenture and UBS, who I was working with, why don't you give us some money to get your brand out there through this event? And it worked.
Wow.
And that was through a lot of prayer.
Yeah.
It was through, and I'm not saying this, people would say it, and they'll just say, oh, I prayed about it.
No,
this
really
one took prayers.
Yeah.
It took, at the time between finishing university and starting the church that I now go to now, I used to visit so many different churches.
Wow,
And every time I do an altar call, I used to go up to the front door and tell them, like, I believe in God. It's like, that was literally me. I probably could name most of the churches I've been to in London.
Wow.
And I remember specifically, there was a church, I think it was New Life, Croydon, I could be wrong. But I remember there was a an article for people looking for breakthroughs, and specifically in the financial area. And I wasn't doing this from a personal perspective. You know, I had had my graduate job. I was like, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
But this was a financial breakthrough through a vision that God has given me. So I went up and I remember that prayer, and I remember standing in front and in tears and believing that there will be a breakthrough. And God's honest truth. I'm sometimes a little bit. I'm sometimes a little bit of a skeptic when people say stuff, but this one, God's honest truth. The next day, UBS came back and said, we want to sponsor this event.
Wow,
No
amazing.
word of a lie. The next day, the Monday, Sunday was church. The Monday they came back and said, we're gonna sponsor this. So the money was there, the West End Theatre was there, and the universities were there, and that's how things came together.
Funnily, you did mention work. You've kind of like risen through the ranks in such a weird amount of time, and having the competition with you as well. Let's talk about balance. What does balance look like for you with the competition that probably takes up most of the annual year anyway?
Yeah, it does.
And alongside work, because obviously you work very hard to get to where you are now. How do you balance things? You know, what do your priorities look like at the moment?
Priorities at the moment, so I'm actually a student again.
Oh wow.
So I'm studying an MBA, so in business, and I am also working. Yeah. We also run another company, and we've got UGCY. Exactly. So there's about 4 different things going on, and I want to try and live my life. Yeah. You know? And, but I always tell people, you know, I'm not married, I don't have children, you know. I'm like, how on earth do people who are married and have children do their stuff? You know, I'm like, for me, I'm married to UGCY. I mean, I'm still like, I'm not saying that I'm never going to get married. I'm not saying that.
At the moment.
My prayers, I do, at the moment. And I'm liking it to that. I'm like, hold on a minute. You're married, you've got 2 children, how on earth do you do it? You know? So people always ask me that. So I'm like, I'm more inspired by those guys that are able to balance their job and their husbands and their children, come home and make sure their house is tidy, small things like that. You know, I'm like, how do you do that? Whereas I am by myself, have UGCY, run a company, I'm studying, and I've got my job. So there's a lot going on.
You're just doing so much. What kind of personal struggles do you think that you have encountered just on this journey up until this point now, and the fact that you're still taking so much more on? What other kind of like major struggles that you face?
I think a few of them come down to, one of them I remember was, my mum used to question, why am I doing this? She was like, why can't, I mean, you know, they don't get it, you know. So personally for me that was hard, but she was just like, why are you putting your money into this where you can use it to buy a house? Do you know what? It's a good question to ask. A mum's going to want you to get on the property ladder, and you know, I'd rather she question me on that rather than something else. You know? So she would want, and you're investing your time and your finances into something. You know, so personally that's been a struggle. But I mean, she's been supportive. She comes to every event. She even sometimes manages the bar when we run the top shop or whatever you call it. So you know, that was. When we first started out, those were the questions that she was asking. Secondly, it comes down to finances as well. So I personally invest into this. The team personally invests into it. You know, so it's again using our own money. I mean, of course, it's generating through the business we run, but you know, you're still investing your own expenses into it. Time is probably the other personal struggle I have. You're trying to balance everything, you know, going on, and telling people that I'm not necessarily saved or provision, they don't necessarily understand it. So again, it's a struggle in terms of maybe people understand what you're trying to achieve here. Another personal struggles is I'm still single, so it's almost like, am I using the effort that I'm using?
You could have been putting into
I get it. No, it's fine. I understand. So, so those are various things. Then nothing's ever rosy, and you know, I'm very open and honest. I'm not like a person that's like, oh, it's all good. It's not half the time, you know. So it's there are multiple different personal struggles.
Yeah.
So.
When you speak about time, and obviously that being a struggle, obviously it is important to obviously make time for yourself eventually at some point in your schedule. What does your relaxing or downtime look like? What do you like to do outside of work? If you have any.
Sit down and watch EastEnders.
Yeah.
Me
You still
all
watch
day.
EastEnders?
Yes. I can tell you what happened yesterday.
Oh my god,
I can tell you what happened yesterday. Stephen, Ian's son, is faking to become like, he's saying to his fiance that he has cancer right now. And I'm like, what is going on?
The fact that you do so much and still have time for EastEnders of all shows is actually mind blowing in itself. But okay, that's good that you have something.
That just relaxes me. That's just like, I don't even think about anything else. I enjoy, what else do I do? So I'm involved in my church. I manage finances for them as well.
That's good.
And we had a concert last week. I was involved with that. I enjoy those things. Do you know what? I'm a homebody. I actually just love being at home. There's other things. Travel.
Just get out.
I love traveling.
I
think I spent more time outside of the country this year than I spent being everywhere this year. From my hometown, Ghana, to start getting, obviously we run UGCY in Ghana as well. To Panama, to I was in Boston a few weeks ago, to LA a few weeks ago, Vegas, Silicon Valley, San Francisco.
I understand that you want to come up for work as well abroad. How was
that? I was living in Switzerland for 4 years.
Wow.
So trying to do that and manage UGCY
Out of the country. That is great.
But
you
again,
have an amazing team.
Great team. If I have to keep saying she's the person that's been behind it.
Let's talk about expansion then. So yes, UGCY runs in Ghana at the moment. Do you plan to go anywhere further?
Yes.
Yeah? Wow.
So it runs in Ghana and it was probably more successful in Ghana than it was in the UK for the first. We launched it last year.
Yeah.
We have some of the biggest gospel artists there as our judging panel in Ghana.
Okay.
We launched it in the National Theatre, which is the biggest, pretty much the biggest theatre in Ghana, in the Accra. We had it on a national station, the TV station. And that was tough. Running an event in Ghana. I remember when we walked into the theatre and we had all the sound engineers, it's like, I was expecting them to start setting up. Why are these guys sleeping? Why are these guys just lying on the floor?
I just feel like they just have no respect for time. Like, things just work when they're ready, basically. That's it.
I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. So that was a challenge in itself. But expansion-wise, of course, we want to go to Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and the US. I just had a meeting a few weeks ago with will.i.am's manager.
Okay.
And she's potentially there's some things in the pipeline. So hopefully getting UGCY into the US as well.
Our thanks to Lorraine Wright for joining me. I loved our chat together. And if you want to participate in the next UGCY concert, go to the website now, which is ugcy.co.uk. Still to come, edification in a box. Speaking to Opeyemi Sofoluke on the Growth Box and how it is literally changing the walk of many Christians across the country. But first, you're watching Nancy Meets.
So we support Feed the Hungry UK and we provide a leaflet for our subscribers to kind of understand where their kind of the money they use to buy their box, where part of it goes to. Feed the Hungry is doing amazing work in Africa and around the world. So we kind of provide them with information so they have a bit of an understanding as to what the charity does.
Okay, cool. We're back with all new Nancy Meets and we're delving into a great story from our second guest, Opeyemi Sofoluke. She's the founder of The Growth Box, a new startup which seeks to edify and empower individuals with monthly boxes of tools to help them in their Christian walk. And with hundreds of subscribers every month, this enterprise has proven to be growing from glory to glory. I met her back in our studio and I asked her first to talk me through her boxes and how the idea to do something so innovative came about.
So we're just going to start with the growth box. Yes. So do you want to tell us where the idea came from?
Okay, so last year, August, my husband and I were just talking about different ideas I've been having, and one of them was a subscription box for personal growth and spiritual development, and I kind of, wanted to do something that would be able to reach a lot of people, and I knew subscription boxes were quite popular. A friend of mine had recently started one, so I thought, you know what, there's nothing out there, kind of a Christian subscription box for spiritual growth, so why not start something that focuses on growth? So that was kind of how the idea came about.
And you said you were talking to your husband about it. What kind of, what did you imagine it would look like when you first started? Did you have any mental goals, or this is what I want it to look like? And does it look like what you wanted it to look like?
It definitely looks like what I wanted it to look like. And I knew I wanted it to kind of have green incorporated into it. It is my favourite colour. But then I also see green as kind of like life. And I felt like it linked really well to growth. So that was definitely going to be the main colour of the box.
Okay. What we're going to do actually is just go through some of its content. So guys, this is the growth box, and here's a little box. Do you want to talk to us about what's inside today?
So we did kind of unpackage it earlier. So this is the box that people will receive, and they receive it on a monthly basis. As I said, it focuses on personal development and spiritual growth. So the content of the box will have that kind of focus. Each month will have a theme, but also there are social good products in the box that support organisations that do good, and then also with every box we're supporting a charity called Feed the Hungry. So it'll be packaged up.
Guys, obviously it looks a lot nicer than this. I kind of ruined it earlier.
It's fine. So it'll be packaged up. Before they kind of unwrap the box, they will see these two leaflets. So the first leaflet will be what's in the box, and every product they receive will be linked to the theme. The June box was on growth, so they have a book from John C. Maxwell called Jumpstart Your Growth, which is basically a 90-day plan.
And is that in here as well?
That is in there somewhere.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. So, and why did you choose this book?
Because it's all about growth, and what I love about it is it's a 90-day, kind of like a daily devotional, which focuses on different areas of personal and professional growth, and it encourages the reader to kind of think about their life and kind of reflect, so there's space to take notes. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't just read it, you have to kind of read it and apply it to your life.
Nice, okay. And I'm going to take these packets out. What are these?
So those APPs are sweet and smoking crisp, and then the far out to juice have flavour.
Very wild flavours.
The organisation supports farmers in sub-Saharan Africa, so again it supports a social good organisation. So there's always some kind of social good products. It might be a snack product, it might be candles or something else.
Okay, cool. Next up, you have a leaflet?
Yes.
Okay.
So we support Feed the Hungry UK, and we provide a leaflet for our subscribers to kind of understand where their kind of the money they use to buy their box, where part of it goes to. Feed the Hungry is doing amazing work in Africa and around the world. So we kind of provide them with information so they have a bit of an understanding as to what the charity does.
Okay, cool. Alright, then what else is in here? Fridge magnet?
Yes. And this fridge magnet says keep calm and trust God. And really kind of told the subscribers this is a daily reminder that as you pursue your journey of growth, you kind of just have to trust God through the process. So I thought it linked well with the theme of the month. And finally,
last item,
Facing the Giants. So this movie is kind of about a man who faces some life challenges, and through those life challenges he also grows. And I thought it's kind of a nice thing for them to reflect on as well.
Which I've actually watched, and it is an amazing movie.
So there's a whole bunch of things for people to kind of focus on throughout the month. And then in addition to all of these products, each month I kind of take time to pray and think, Lord, what do you want me to say to my subscribers? And then I write a monthly kind of commentary on the theme.
And that comes in the book?
Yeah, this comes in
as
the
well.
box as well. So that one was all growth.
Nice. Okay. So this was, you said it was June's month.
Yes.
Why growth? Aside the name of the business, Why go for that month in particular?
So for the month of June, we
Yeah.
wanted to focus on growth because we had an event that was coming up in July.
Okay.
And the July event was called God, Goals and Growth.
Nice.
And we thought, you know, you're coming to June, which is the end of the middle, you're about to reach the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
And a lot of us set goals at the beginning of the month and plan to kind of develop in some way, shape or form. But you know, the way life goes, you kind of get busy, you don't actually get to really focus on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be good to kind of refocus, go back to growth. How do we want to develop this year? You know, as we reach the middle of the year, how are we doing in terms of our growth, spiritually, personally? And then the following month, July, is going to be around courage and how to overcome fear. So I thought it kind of ties in well.
So what does the planning around the box look like? So how do you decide, you know, what each month's theme is going to be, and then what goes inside the box, make sure it does relate to the theme? How does planning a month's box look like?
So typically speaking, it'll kind of be just praying into what I feel would be a good topic for that month. And I feel like there are so many topics that you can cover month to month because there's so much that we go through in life. And then I also look at the resources and the books that I have available. So I have kind of a stock of books. And I look at them and I have a think, what do I kind of want to focus on in the next coming months? So that's kind of how I choose.
Would you ever say that do you ever struggle to find the correct content to go into the box? And do you feel like there's an array of everything you can choose from, or do you ever struggle at times?
I would say with the Christian resources, there is so much to choose from. We're so blessed to kind of have so many people who have written books and resources for our spiritual development. But I find with the social good products, there are only so many companies that give back. So it's kind of a lot of research takes place. But generally speaking, if I plan ahead, it should be fine.
And then with the social change groups or whichever business you choose, how do you vet them? Do you vet them and say that, oh, you know, this is what I'm looking for in a business in regards to them giving back? Or they could be giving back, but it's not necessarily what you want to, you know, promote in your box. How do you vet like each business?
I'll read what they're about on their website, contact them and kind of understand their ethos and how they support the organisations they support, or the countries or the farmers, depending on what it is they're providing.
Even with the Christian content, so though there is a lot to choose from, do you ever have a criteria as to what is not allowed and what is allowed inside the box?
Not necessarily. For me, if the resources, as long as it's like based on scripture. And to be fair, the last book we had by John C. Maxwell, he's a Christian writer, but he also is quite mainstream. People in the mainstream do know him. So for me, as long as it's resources that is going to build people up, encourage people, strengthen people, then I feel like it should be ideal for the box. But because it is a Christian subscription box, I definitely want it to have a message that will link back to the Word of God.
Like you said, me personally, I've never seen anything like this in the Christian realm in regards to having this open and available to us. Why do you think it is important to have this available to people wanting to subscribe, that they have a constant inflow of content that they can learn from? Why do you believe it is important to have it available?
I feel like it's important because in our Christian journey, a lot of us could do with help on the way. I remember being a young believer and thinking, I wish I had fellowship groups that I could go to, which were great, and cell groups, but having resources that I could just read on a daily basis. And I feel like when you have something that's coming to you consistently, it's going to encourage you and kind of push you to keep pursuing your journey of growth, and it takes 21 days to build a habit.
Do you actually, from doing this, do you believe it's true?
I do believe that from a fitness point of view, I used to gym a lot, and I believe that from if you keep doing something consistently for
21 days,
it becomes a habit. You kind of get used to it. And if you're receiving content that is there to encourage you, I feel like as a believer, it will prompt you. Even when it comes, you're like, the box has come.
The box has come.
What's it got for me? What's it got for me this month? And even if it is just reading the summary sheet that I put inside there,
At least
there's always a really
good.
good message on there for the person who receives it. But
Mm.
then the resources as well
Yeah.
encourage you. And I say, you know, when I speak to some of my friends who subscribe, I don't expect everyone to read each book cover to cover.
Yeah.
But there might be chapters in the books that are relevant to you.
Mm.
Or a book might not be something you read now, but then later on down the line you think, oh my gosh, I remember I received that book from the growth box.
Yeah.
I'm going to read that and reflect. And I think it's necessary because it helps you with your spiritual growth. We're so ready to invest in hair products. We're so ready to invest in makeup or fitness things, you know, things that are materialistic. But what about our spiritual life? We need to be ready to make an investment in our spiritual life to grow.
And would you say that you faced like any struggles, like from from its inception, just getting it off the ground and running? What kind of things did you like face at first? What that would make start with quite hard?
I think if anything, it's more personal kind of struggles you might face, or not having faith that you can do it.
Actually do something.
Exactly.
Like this. Yeah.
And I feel like when God wants to birth something great in you, you're always going to have like the enemy or kind of like nerves kicking in and saying, are you sure you can do that? Are you going to be consistent? This is something that's going to have to take place monthly. How are you going to do it? But I think really believing and understanding that this is something that God has placed in your heart, and if He placed it on my heart, and I knew that if He's placed it on my heart, He's going to give me the resources, He's going to help me do it, He will make a way if it ever gets tough for me. So I feel like just overcoming those kind of negative thoughts in your mind. Exactly.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, I'm just going to move away from that and just talk about you really. So you're young, married, and you work full time, and then need to make sure that this box gets out every single month. How do you like find the balance and just making sure that you know your health, like your mental space is healthy, that you're okay to do this every month? Like, what do you do to kind of balance out the life of a PIWC?
I think it's about time management and also praying and trusting in God.
Yeah.
Because there was a stage, especially at the beginning of the business, where I was just trying to do everything on my own. I was just trying to do it on my own. And then I think it kind of just hit me. It must have been in February, I think. And God was like, okay, I mean, you have to understand that this is something I gave to you. You need to lean on me to do this. And I literally had to pray, and I actually said, God, you know what, forgive me for kind of depending on myself and trying to not be necessarily superwoman, but try to think that I'm doing it in my own strength. And it's really understanding that to juggle everything, you kind of have to lean on God. And then you have to manage your time effectively. And also pray. Like, prayer is key, and I probably need to do it even more. But really understanding that, you know, this is something He's given to me, so I need to lean on Him more than leaning on myself or just
strength to do it.
Exactly.
With time management, like what kind of practical things do you personally do in your life? Like obviously working Monday to Friday in quite a company, and having to make sure you have the time around work to do this, and then obviously church life, being a married woman. What kind of practical things you do in regards to time management to make sure that you have enough time to do everything?
Keeping a diary.
And
trying to stick to it. And also setting goals.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like excessive, like setting weekly goals, but sometimes it is necessary. Just understanding, okay, I know Monday, for example, might be date night. So both of us are quite busy. You know, my husband has a lot of work that he does both outside and inside of work, and it's the same for me. So making time for one another, and then understanding, okay, what am I doing with the rest of the weeks? How am I using my evenings? Whether that's church related, whether it's related to the growth box, or just personal time you want to have for yourself, and being quite deliberate about how you use your time. So I find that I kind of have to have an idea of what my week's going to look like, and how I'm going to spend my time.
So just having said that, what about like priorities and how you prioritize your time and stuff? So let's say, I don't know, the growth box 1 month is just like, oh my God, I really have a special message on my heart to get out that month. I need to sit down, write it and plan it and make sure that the content is right for it. But date night maybe hasn't happened for like 2 weeks or something. Like, how do you like prioritize and making sure that everyone has its right time, apart from diary management? But is there anything that, like, any advice that you would give to make sure that your priorities are in the correct place?
It's really, so for me, if I've been in that kind of situation, which I have been in, sometimes for the growth box, I thank God that he might just wake me up really early, and I use that time. My husband might still be sleeping. I use that time to write the message, and it's probably that's the best time. I wake up, no one's disturbing me. I've got a fresh mind, and I can literally ask the Lord to speak to me, put on some worship music, and kind of just write. But in terms of prioritizing, you will kind of know, it's kind of understanding what's important and what's urgent. And sometimes some things are important but they're not urgent, whereas other things might not necessarily be important but they're urgent and they need to be done. So it's understanding where to place things and then placing them accordingly.
So how many months has it been now since the Growth Box started?
So we launched in December.
December last year.
So we'll be going to
halfway through.
it's our 8th month. So it's it's been going.
Would you say that you've done a mid-year review, around this time? Would you say you'd be doing
kind of, yes, because at the event, God's Goals of Growth, we had the opportunity to we were speaking to people about setting goals for the next 6 months. So for me, it's kind of thinking, I'm kind of thinking about when I want to do my next event. I haven't set a date for that yet, but how am I going to take this to the next level? What some of my goals will be around marketing and getting out there more. So that kind of thing has been going on, I guess, around this day.
You held an event recently. Would you say that that's part of the future of the Growth Box? Is that something that you want to do more often, or go down that route permanently, or was it just a one-off and just to see how it went?
We'd definitely love to hold more events. What I loved about the event, it was quite interactive. So we had sessions where people spoke, but then we also had workshop sessions where people were able to work on some goals, and they had kind of worksheets that took them through how to set goals, as well as creating vision boards. So it really created an opportunity for people to also connect with others, talk about things they want to do, feedback to groups, and I think this is something we definitely would love to do more of.
And what else is in the future for the Growth Box then?
Wow.
Or anything you're allowed to tell us, basically.
I think we want to continue to provide the box to people, but I would love to kind of build up a team where we're maybe able to go on a mission trip somewhere, because we're supporting the charity.
It would be nice to go out.
It was nice to go out and support the work of the charity, and even if it isn't specifically this charity, other organisations that are going out and doing good in less economically developed countries, or countries where there are orphanages we can visit and support, and there's a lot that we could even do in the UK. There's so much homelessness around, so really kind of doing more things actively just to kind of go out and support people.
Do you think that you would ever get to a point where Growth Box is everything now, and then not leave full-time work, but maybe Growth Box would have such a more prominent part in your life that you would have the choice to leave work? Would you ever want to?
That would be great. I mean, to be at a level where so many people are subscribing. To me, that means so many people are growing, and that means so many people are investing in the lives of people spiritually. So to see it grow would only be a great thing for us.
My many thanks to Opeyemi for joining me, and congratulations to her and her husband who are expecting their first child. Congratulations to them both. Up next, Toby Oridin on filling the gap left by the mainstream media in representing and speaking to Black women. Don't go anywhere, we're back in a moment.
It's hard because when you give your opinion, you're giving someone a page view, which translates into money. However, the flip side of that is if you stay silent, then stereotypes abound, and then people profit off that culture. So it's kind of like, what one is it? So I think personally it's about picking your battles. There are some people, I would never react to Piers Morgan.
This is it,
he has so much money in the world. I'm not adding to his, I'm not.
Income, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that. There's some people I just...
Toby Oridin is a fearless and fantastic woman who for the last few years has been doing great things with her platform, Black Ballad, which seeks to speak to Black women and also authentically represent the experiences that we have in this country and across the world. Our conversation was great and I'm so glad to share with you, so here it is.
Hi Toby.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on Nancy today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to sit down and speak to you. So what we'll do is we'll just go from the beginning. So talk to us about Black Ballad's inception and where the idea came from.
Okay, so Black Ballad was really born out of frustration, if I'm completely honest. I landed my first journalism job when I was 21. But I lasted about 18 months and it was like, oh, we're doing cuts, you know, bye.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I did a bit of freelancing. I did a lot of like entertainment journalism, and I really just didn't enjoy going out to parties and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay.
I don't drink.
Yeah.
I don't really, it's not really my vibe. So I was doing that, I was freelancing in that sort of area, and I was applying for loads of jobs, and I had experience under my belt, and I just couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
And it was really frustrating. But what was happening was the fact that I kept seeing the fact that black women weren't represented in women's magazines, and if they were a certain type of black woman.
Okay.
Not black women that looked like me, that had, you know, dark skin and, you know, undeniable black features.
Yeah.
Or I felt that there was kind of an over-representation of black women that was like flattering.
That was flattering, yeah.
So these two things were kind of in my mind, and then I applied for a job. For an actual black magazine in the UK, I won't say what it was. And the editor was really dismissive when I said, oh, you know, I applied, you know, I just had the application process going, and she was quite dismissive and blunt on the phone. And it was like something went off in my mind, and I was like, okay, that's how you're going to talk to me. Do you know what? I'm going to do my own thing. I'm sick of the year of like waiting for someone to hand me a job, just going to do my own thing. And 8 months later, Black Ballad was born.
Wow. That's literally pretty much it. So, okay, well for you, why journalism then? Has that always been a passion, or did it just stem out of, well, this is something that I can do?
No, so I was kind of raised an only child, and I loved magazines. It kind of felt like I was talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if this is how this makes me feel, you know, I'd like to make someone else feel like that.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a teenager, I asked my dad to get me a subscription to Cosmo Girl. I don't know if you know that magazine.
No, I don't remember
it. It was like the teenage version. It was the teenage version of Cosmopolitan.
I see. Okay.
And I had a subscription just come through my door like the first of every month, and I would walk around school with a magazine like in my face. Wow. And I was like, oh my god, I want to write this. I would copy how they would write certain features, how they would do interviews. So I was like honing my craft.
Yeah.
Like
really
13. I probably didn't even know that I was just copying these like features and stuff. And that obsession of just like writing, I was like, you know what, I want to write, I want to be a journalist.
Yeah.
As much as I like books, I don't love books like that. I'm never going to be a novelist, I don't think I've got the patience.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to be a journalist. And, you know, I think, my teen years old, spending too much time making things was where it came from.
Did you ever go down the novelist route? Like, did you feel like it was a way to kind of nurture your gift, or was it just a...
No, I don't know. I think for someone to sit down and create a story out of like their imagination, you have to be super talented. And I've just got that talented. So like, I'm at peace with that, that's why.
That's fine, okay. So what kind of, when you first came into writing in regards to journalism, what kind of jobs, well, you did say you were working initially in entertainment. Were there any other like industries or kind of jobs that you were picking up first?
No, I always thought it was going to be entertainment.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be like, saying it now sounds ridiculous. I thought I was going to be the enemy, and now I would never pick up enemy. But yeah, I thought I was going to be a music journalist because I was so obsessed with MTV Bass and stuff like that. And I was in my mind, I was going to interview Destiny's Child and stuff like that. And I think even thinking about the people that I wanted to interview, like Missy Elliott, and like these were black women that I was seeing on the TV screen that I was obsessed with. And I was like, so I thought I was going to interview all these like R&B hip hop stars and be like, you know, the answer to someone who writes in RyBen in the UK. So entertainment was always the way forward, but then I just think along the way God kind of shifted the vision or kind of showed me his vision for me.
So let's talk about the importance of Black Ballad. Why do you think what you do is so important?
I think that we're in a time where race is becoming more of a prominent and sexy subject in the media. I think social media has given a voice to marginalised groups, in particular black women. But I think that voice has been predominantly American. And I think publications that have been out in the UK have always pandered to the American pop culture, where Black Ballad is distinctly British.
Yes. Okay.
That doesn't mean we're never going to address American issues, but there's such a British tone to it, and I think it's important to give Black British women their voice in a space where things like Black Girl Magic and Black Girl Joy and the Black Lives Matter movement are, just going like that. It was like, where is the British voice here, and where's the British experience? So I think that's why it's important, and I think also, it's countering certain images that are seen in British media. I think it's forcing some, media outlets to kind of think that, pay attention, Black women have a voice. And also, it's nurturing young Black talent. A lot of girls that apply for Black Ballad now, we now pay like a small fee for your features, they might not get that chance in mainstream media. So it's important that, Black young female writers get paid for their craft and have confidence, and they can do that with Black Ballad.
I think we spoke about this briefly before, as to why have you carved out a space for Black Ballad rather than try and either get yourself or like the talent that you do employ into Black Ballads into like the front doors of Cosmopolitan, of Elle, of all the big like mainstream magazines. Why would you say it's better to carve out a space for us rather than kick down the door in white mainstream media?
Okay, well, I do freelance. I freelance for Elle, Glamour, all those glossy women's lifestyle magazines. And I think it is important to have our voices on there, because sometimes people get paid to write about our experiences, and often there's a misrepresentation there. So it's important that people who have lived experience write about those experiences. However, I know that I'm a freelancer. Journalism is 94% rights. As much as I write, as much as I've made my own publication, I'm still not in the office. I'm still only a freelancer that gets permission to write about certain issues. So having Black Ballad allows me to write about things that may not be very centred, which I'd be employed to write about white magazines. And it allows me to kind of have a voice that's unapologetic. There's no denying that when I go and write for these freelance publications, you're writing for a white audience first and foremost. When you're writing for Black Ballad, I'm writing for Black women. There's certain things I can put in there. Like if I'm like saying something about, about Gele, I'm not going to put in brackets that it's, what it is. Funny enough, we did that the other day, and I did. But I personally would take it for granted that most people, would. Like if I said something about, Black British culture, about how So-Sonic3 changed my life, I want them to explain that they're a garage like 20 strong piece. And I love that about Black Ballad. I love the fact that we can talk about Black culture and it doesn't have to be explained, because most of us get it. Most of us, maybe we don't love it, but we've had some experience or we have some acknowledgement of what we're talking about. And I think that's so important, because in mainstream media, sometimes your voice is watered down. And that's fine, I understand it, media is a business. But my business is for Black women, and I think Black women are in a time and a place where they don't want things watered down, they want it as it is.
It's unapologetic, so face value. I don't know, one thing I have noticed very recently, just being on social media and looking at mainstream media, is that, like you were saying, sometimes they might employ people to write our experiences that aren't Black women, and to the point where they know that it makes us angry, and I feel like at times they've been profiting off our rage and our anger. Like they would write trigger articles that they know would anger Black women or Black people in general. Where do you think this phenomenon has come from? I don't know if it's I haven't noticed it before, or is it actually happening a lot now?
I think social media makes things more visible. So beforehand, if someone wrote an article and we felt outraged because it was racist, we'd have to write to the editor. And that letter would take like a week-long process. Now I can talk to the editor, and in 40 seconds she's got my opinion. And I think this whole thing of outrage, I think people need to realise that Black culture informs culture. I don't know if you saw a thing, the Metro, we've used this word woke for ages. The Metro had an article on it, like it was like a barometer of being woke. And the most woke person was Jeremy Corbyn. And had all these white people in between, and the least woke person was May. And it just shows you, it's just another example, Black culture informs mainstream culture. I think people know that, and they know that when they do these things, we're going to react, people are going to talk on social media. I remember, I don't know if you know a show called Victoria Derbyshire on BBC 2 or 1. And they had a whole piece on Black Twitter. And it was phenomenal to me because it was like a 15-minute segment on what is Black Twitter.
Wow.
And for us, it's like, Black Twitter is just Black Twitter.
It's
Black Twitter. Yeah. But it was a whole feature on it, and I think that's why outrage sells so much because Black culture informs mainstream culture. People may deny it, people may not like it, but that's the truth.
That's the truth, and that's what happens.
I mean, look at the girl on Fleek.
Yeah.
I mean, the girl's broke as hell.
Yeah.
But she will forever have her name in the pop canon because
of that word. Yeah. Wow. Wow, yeah. Never thought about it like that, I would say. I guess, I don't know. I just feel like, yes, a lot of articles lately do outrage me, just simply for the fact that they're just outright racist. I don't know, it needs to be spoken about and people do need to be called out. But then I feel like I don't want to give you my views and I don't want to talk about it so that you get the opinion that you're looking for. Do you think that we need to engage in the conversations and do call people out, or should we just sit back and withhold our views and our opinions?
It's hard because when you give your opinion, you're giving someone a page view which translates into money.
Yeah.
However, the flip side of that is if you stay silent, then stereotypes abound, and then people profit off that culture. So it's kind of like, what one is it? So I think personally it's about picking your battles.
Yeah.
There are some people, I would never react to Piers Morgan.
This is it, like...
He has so much money in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not adding to his, I'm not...
income, I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that. There's some people I just won't do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's about picking your battles and, knowing where you feel you can right and wrong.
Yeah.
Like with Piers Morgan, he's got thousands of followers. No matter what I say, I don't think it's going to make a significant difference. But Janina, who had such a big following, she retorted to his whole Beyonce criticism of Lemonade, and she was able to take on that battle. It's not about what I could take on. So I think for Black people, it's really about picking your battles when it comes to this.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. Let's shift the conversation now. Talk about your upbringing in regards to your faith, and just coming into your Blackness. Like, what was that experience like growing up?
Okay, so I probably have a really unusual upbringing. The people that brought me up, my parents are actually white. I've been since I was 10 days old. And my parents were pretty much like, my dad was pretty much like, things are going to be harder for you because you're Black and you're a woman. And then I was really lucky actually in my school. I had 10 Black female teachers throughout my secondary school.
Oh my god.
And I had 4 Black male teachers, and I find that this is really unusual.
Yeah.
So my English teacher used to tell us, every time we used to walk into a room, my school was pretty mixed, like I had like white and Asian kids, and she used to tell all the Black girls, you have 2 strikes against you in life. Your Blackness and your gender. Yeah. So at home I had my parents saying you're going to have to work a little bit harder, and at school I had a Black woman that was telling me like I'm successful, but you're going to have to work just to work even harder. And I think that just kind of put this thing in my mind that when you're a Black woman you just have to work so much harder. There's just no getting around it. Yeah. And I think that probably set me on my path of where I am now and the work ethic that I have and why I don't want to cut corners with Black Ballad. And then when you have your faith, I go to a predominantly Nigerian church. Yeah. So you can that kind of informs your worldview because like when we're in church, it's kind of like a safe space. You can kind of have these cultural experiences, but when you go out into the work world, it doesn't really reflect that. No. And I think sometimes that's kind of good to know that, sometimes your culture isn't for the workplace, if that makes sense. Yeah. So kind of all these experiences have kind of informed how I carry myself. Yeah. And probably informed why I want to do Black Ballad so much, to have these honest conversations and in safe spaces. Yeah. So kind of always.
It has mixed all together. So what's beyond Black Ballads? That's the end goal, to be doing that full-time forever, or is there anything else in the picture?
I want Black Ballad to live forever.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be doing it forever.
Really?
No, because Black Ballad is found with my co-founder is actually my fiance. Yeah. And you kind of have to balance your personal life and your business. I would love to be the editorial consultant, maybe like 15 years on if this is carrying on. But no, I want a new talent of young Black women to take this over. For me, in my mind, if I'm still here in 20 years, I failed.
That's not okay.
this is the point of letting young black women have, you know, their say, and they should take it over. And also, you know, Black Ballad is for, you know, the older side of millennials, so it's kind of like, you know, people in their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
I think you have to be careful when you start something that you don't think it's about you. As I grow and as I grow into these new kind of, you know, facets of my life, I am not going to be that woman. And I think I think that's when I need to know when to step aside and be a consultant and not be at the head of the table. So Black Ballad has to live forever. I want it to live forever. I just know that, you know,
the face of it,
it has to change at one point, and that's I think if we successfully transition that over, I will say it's a success. If it dies when I'm gone, then it's been a success.
Okay. Would you hope for the demographic of it to change? As in, like, you did say that it does cater to like the older millennial at the moment. As in, do you think that Black Ballad could ever be for the 40-year-old black woman or the 13-year-old black woman?
Some of our members are older, you know, and I think there are articles where everybody can relate to it. It's just that if you're going to be a good editorial product, you need to know what the core audience is first. You know, me saying that the old side of millennials is the core audience doesn't mean it's the only audience. And I think one thing we have to also remember is that Black Ballad shouldn't be for every black woman. There's nuance in black womanhood. We're not all the same. And I think that's the importance of having other publications for women of colour and black women. Because if you don't like Black Ballad, you can go somewhere else. And I think just having those things in mind helped me in terms of the editorial product. Because, you know, you guys would notice if, you know, this was not a strong voice or a strong identity. So as I said, we have a core audience, but it's not our only audience.
What would you say to maybe young women, young black women that want to do what you do? Like you said, there should be spaces that are like Black Ballad, that aren't Black Ballad. There should be other options. What would you advise them to try and get their foot in the door or get something started?
I would say like there are tools for you to write your own stories. You don't actually have to wait for anybody. Even if you know, social media is there. Like, you can write. Like there's nothing stopping you. Like when I started, I don't think blogs weren't even a thing, and I graduated university in 2008. So, no, I didn't, sorry, I started in 2008. 2011, sorry. So, 2011 I graduated, but blogs were a thing, but they weren't like what they're doing now. So, like, write, and I would say research. I think people write a lot of stuff without any research, and that will set you apart. And make sure your research is the solid base of your journalism. And network. Network's a little bit easier with social media now. Follow the journalists that you like, interact with them. Maybe they won't, you know, tweet you back the first time, the second time, or the third time. But you know, network with them, start conversations. I'm not trying to say, you know, when they say I need a coffee, you know, go and say, let's get me coffee at Starbucks. You know, innovation. But you know, write, research, network.
And my thanks to Toby Oredin, definitely a name to look out for. Online, across Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, we have behind-the-scenes photos from our shoot, plus Gina Agre and Celine Henry interview our executive producer, Vincent and Annie Newman, about all things for Nancy Meets. And that's it from me. Coming up next week, we're talking about men and their maker, and the challenges and promises for men who faithfully follow God through all things. Looking forward to that, but for now, from me and the team, until we meet again, it's bye-bye for now.